Hello, my name is Kainson Munonye, and in this presentation we are going to be looking at project cost management, and we are focusing on determine budget process. Previously on the project cost management we looked at estimate costs, where the cost of various activities on the project are determined. But today we are going to look at determine budget. That is the way to determine the overall project budget. According to the Pinboard Guide 5th edition, determine budget is the process of aggregating the estimated cost of individual activities or work packages to establish an authorized cost baseline. The key benefit of this process is that it determines the cost baseline against which project performance can be monitored or controlled. A project budget includes all funds authorized to execute the project. This is an important point. The cost baseline is the approved version of the time phase project budget, but excludes management reserves. I've highlighted the key point that the cost baseline excludes or does not include the management reserves. Remember, management reserves are funds set aside to handle unknown risks or unknown unknowns. That is, risks that has not been identified. Let's look at the key ITTOs of the determine budget process. We have the cost management plan, the scope baseline, the activity cost estimate, the basis of estimates. Remember, the activity cost estimate and basis of estimates are the output of the estimate cost process. The project schedule, the resource calendars should be outputs of the estimate activity resources process from the project time management knowledge area. Risk register, agreement, and organizational process asset. We have about 5 different tools and techniques used to determine budget: cost aggregation, expert judgment, reserve analysis, historical relationship, and funding limits reconciliation. The outputs of determined budgets include cost baseline, project funding requirements, and project documents updates. I've also again listed the 9 inputs of determined budgets. Let's see if we can look at them one after the other and determine why do we need these items or these inputs to determine the budget. Cost management plan is needed because it describes how the project costs will be managed and controlled. We also need the scope baseline, comprising of the project scope statement, the work breakdown structure, and the work breakdown structure dictionary. This has been discussed during the project scope management knowledge area, but as a revision, take note that the project scope statement includes funding constraints that are reflected in the project scope statement. Work breakdown structure provides a relationship among all the project deliverables and their various components. WBS dictionary and related detailed statement of work provides an identification of the deliverables and a description of the work in each work breakdown structure component required to produce deliverable. The third one, input, is activity cost estimates. Cost estimates for each activity within a work package are aggregated to obtain a cost estimate for each work package. The fourth input is the basis of estimates, and these are supporting details for cost estimates contained in the basis of estimates, and this should specify any basic assumption dealing with the inclusion or exclusion of indirect or other costs in the project budget. So basis of estimate is like an explanation of the cost estimate that has been made. Project schedule includes planned start and finish dates for the project activities, milestones, work packages, and control accounts. This information can be used to aggregate costs to the calendar periods which the costs are planned to be incurred. The sixth input is resource calendars. Resource calendars provide information on which resources are assigned to project and when they are assigned. This information can be used to indicate resource cost over the duration of the project. We also need the risk register, which has to be reviewed to consider how to aggregate the risk response cost. Updates to the risk register are included with the project document updates. Remember, during estimating costs, you need to do reserve analysis and you have to plan for risks that has been identified. So funds have to be reserved for identified risks. These identified risks are contained in the risks register. We also need agreements, applicable agreement information, and costs relating to product, services, or results that have been or will be purchased are included when determining the budget. Organizational process assets. Existing formal and informal cost budgeting related policies, procedures, etc., cost budgeting tools, and reporting methods. These are part of the organizational process assets that might affect determined budget. Let's now look at some of the tools and techniques used to determine budget. One of them is cost aggregation. Cost estimates are aggregated by work packages in accordance with the WBS. The work package cost estimates are then aggregated for the higher component level of the WBS, such as control accounts, and ultimately for the entire project. Take note how it works. We have cost estimate for activities aggregated to higher level components of the WBS. So you have cost estimates by work packages, and then to control accounts, and then to the entire project. Reserve analysis. We've discussed it several times in my presentations. Budget reserve analysis can establish both contingency reserve and management reserve for the project. Number 3, expert judgment guided by experience in an application area, knowledge area, discipline, industry, or similar project aids in determining the budget. Such expertise might be provided by any group of individuals with specialized education, knowledge, skill, experience, or training. Another important tool and technique used to determine budget is historical relationship. What is historical relationship? Historical relationship has to do with any historical relationship that results in parametric estimates or analogous estimates and involve the use of project characteristics to develop mathematical models to predict total project costs. Both the cost and accuracy of analogous and parametric models can vary widely. They are most likely to be reliable when historical information used to develop the model is accurate. Parameters used in the model are readily quantifiable, and models are scalable, such that they work for large projects, small projects, and phases of a project. Another tool and technique is funding limit reconciliation. The expenditure of funds should be reconciled with any funding limit on the commitment of funds for the project. A variance between the funding limits and the planned expenditures will sometimes necessitate this rescheduling of work to level out the rate of expenditures. This is accomplished by placing imposed date constraints for work into the project schedule. Then we also have outputs of determined budgets. Of course, we know the cost baseline, which is the approved version of the time-phase project budgets, excluding management reserve. Always bear in mind that the baseline excludes management reserve, and it can only be changed. This cost baseline can only be changed through formal change control procedures, and is used as a basis for comparison to actual result. It is developed as a summation of the approved budgets for the different schedule activities. Another output is project funding requirement. Now this is important because this has to do with the total funds, has to do with the cost baseline, and everything that that's related to the project funding. Total funding requirement and periodic funding requirement are derived from the cost baseline. The cost baseline will include projected expenditures plus anticipated liabilities. Funding often occurs in incremental amounts that are not continuous and may not be evenly distributed, which appears as steps. The total funds required are those included in the cost baseline, plus management reserves if any. Funding requirements may include the sources of the funding. I've added this diagram from the PMBOK 5th edition to explain the components of the project budget. Let's start with the first part. The first part is activity contingency reserve as well as activity cost estimate. In estimates costs, we estimated costs for the activity for the activities, and then these estimated costs are added to the contingency reserves. And then we now have the control account. What we are saying here is we have activity cost estimates, activity contingency reserve. They are aggregated to work package cost estimate, which is a higher level, and also this work package cost estimate is added to the contingency reserve to provide a higher level up to the control account, and this gives us the cost baseline. The cost baseline is the amount that is available to the project manager, which is time phase as the project work continues. The cost baseline is added to the management reserve. Remember, management reserve is set out to handle unknown unknowns, that is risks that has not been identified. But before the project manager can accept the management reserve, he might have to pass through some organizational policies before he will be able to use this money. Management reserve added to the cost baseline gives us the overall project budget. I hope it's clear, but if not, spend some time here to get your head around this concept. Alright, let's now look at the third output of the determine budget process, and that is project document update. Project documents that may be updated includes risk register, activity cost estimates, and the project schedule. So this is where we wrap it up on determine budget process. I hope this has been informative for you. Thank you very much for viewing. Maybe you need to, if you want, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also tell me what do you want me to explain more clearly, and I want you to join me in my next presentation as we discuss control costs under the monitoring and controlling process group.